Hey YouTube, how's it going? My name is Phil, and in this video we're going to look at the game Splinter Cell. Now the PC version of Splinter Cell is very interesting. Only works on certain vintage hardware configurations, and that's what this video is all about. So if you want to experience the game in all its glory, make sure you watch the entire video, and it tells you all about it. And I've got videos that shows you differences and so on. Now, if you're clicking on a link from previously and you notice that the video has changed, yes, that is correct. I discovered a few other differences with the GeForce, between the GeForce 4 and the FX, so I made the video again, and I deleted the old one because I didn't want to publish information that's not 100% correct. Okay, so in this video, we're going to have a look at why the game only runs correctly on specific graphics cards. We're going to have a look at the Readme file because there's a lot of interesting tech info in there. I'll show you how to edit the SplinterCell.ini file, which you need to do in order to make sure you're getting the right shadow mode going. I'll talk about where you can buy the game. We have a look at all the graphics card options and the driver versions and what I recommend. And then we have a look at sound cards and EAX. And then if you're set on building a PC for this game, I'll just quickly go over a few other components that might be worth getting. And at the end, we have like an 8 or 10 minute comparison video where I'll show you the difference between how the game looks on a retro PC. So if you follow my guide and you build a retro PC, it'll look like that, compared to if you play it on a modern PC like the Steam or the GOG.com version. Okay, so this is from the Readme file, and it mentions here, Splinter Cell was originally developed on the Xbox. Features only available on NV2X. Now that is the graphics chip that's in the GeForce 4. Were used, and it was decided to port them to the PC version, even if these chips would be the only one able to support them. So it means that if you don't have a graphics card with this chip, the game will not display correctly. Okay. So here it talks a bit more in detail. It uses what's called shadow buffers. Now, what happens if you don't have a GeForce card? On all current hardware, the game is using another technique called projected shadows, shadow projectors. Yeah. So the game is playable. You do get the shadows, you do get the lights, but as you'll see in the comparison video, a lot of shadows are missing. The detail is not as good. You're basically getting a suboptimal experience compared to the shadow buffer version. Okay. Now, it also talks here that you can actually force the game to tell the game which shadow mode you want to use. There are 3 render pipes that the game supports: Class 2, Class 1, and Class 0. Class 0, that's really for if you have a video card that's older than the GeForce 3. So most of you probably don't run into that situation. So it's between the Class 2 and the Class 1. So that's basically the GeForce 3 and 4. And this talks about the FX, but the FX is a special case, which I will talk about later. So if you've got GeForce 3 or 4, it uses shadow buffers. But if you've got any other card, it uses shadow projectors. So let's have a look at how you have to tweak the SplinterCell.ini file. It's in the system folder of the game, and you basically have to uncomment false shadow mode and put a 0 in there. So if you put in a 0, that's the shadow projector mode, and that will be compatible with all your current games. So if there's a comment here in front, if there's a semicolon, or if this is a 1, you will get glitches in the game. So you have to make sure, so if you're playing this on a new machine, make sure this is 0 and that the comment in front of this line is removed. So, however, if you're following my video and you're building a PC to play this game in all its glory, make sure it's full shadow set to 1. And that's for GeForce 3, 4, and also for the GeForce FX. Okay, where can you get the game? You can get it basically from Steam on GOG.com. Steam is quite expensive, $20. It's only $10 on GOG.com, and it's also DRM free, so you don't need internet connection. The GOG.com version, I had some issues with getting EAX sound going, so they might have actually modified the game, which could have broken that feature if you want to play it on original machine. So if that happens, I'll talk a bit more about that later on, but just keep that in mind that they might have tweaked a few things. This version also includes all the latest patches up to version 1.3 and some bonus, I think there were some bonus maps. Steam version, I believe it's version 1.2b, which is the same version as I'm using in my videos. I just use the retail version. I've got the original copy with 3 discs. I'm not quite sure about the EAX version. I didn't test that because I didn't want to go online with my Windows XP machine because of security issues. I want to keep it totally off the internet. Okay, so let's have a look at the graphics card. This is from the Readme file, and it officially supports all these cards. Now, you notice that the GeForce FX is actually not listed on here. While it mentions the FX chip in a few parts of the document. There's one reference here, and there's another one here, and another one there. It's actually not officially supported, and as we later find out, there might be a good reason for that. So we've got here GeForce 3 and 4. These are your top cards. So really you want to focus on the GeForce 4, and that's what I recommend, because you'll get a error-free and perfect visual experience. So let's have a look at the GeForce 4. Couple of cards. The first 2 cards launched was the TI 4600 on 4440. Hang on, not 4440, sorry, 4400. Yeah, those 2 cards launched first, and then it was followed up by the TI 4200. Later, the NVIDIA did a few refreshes and added HBX compatibility, and you can see how the names changed. So this became 4200 HBX. This card became the TI 4800 SE, and that's the card I'm using. And the 4600 became the TI 4800. In terms of which card to get, you'll probably find these 2 harder to get, because that was the top product, so there are not many cards out there. You'll find these ones a lot easier to find, and we have a look at some performance differences as well. So here we have got some benchmarks. It's in the Oil Refinery level at 1024 by 786 resolution, and we can see there's a nice gap going from the 4200 to the 4800 SE. But look at the FX, look at the it's the 5950 Ultra, almost double the frames. Now this card would get my undevoted recommendation if it was not for some graphical glitches, which I'm gonna talk about next. So here we go. What about the GeForce FX? And I've got 2 cards. I've got the 5950 Ultra, and I modified the cooler. I put on aftermarket cooler, runs a lot quieter, and I've got a FX 5500 on there. And to do my walkthrough videos and my investigations, I know the game quite well now. I've pretty much played a lot of the levels over and over and over. So if something is off, I kind of can tell immediately. And I noticed a few things on the FX series. So the first issue, that just says that the FX series is not listed as officially supported. So let's go to this slide. Yep. The first issue, I encountered some shiny text. I call it the shiny texture glitch, and I observed that on both my cards. I tried a lot of drivers, and what am I talking about? I've got some videos, so we're just gonna do a comparison between GeForce FX and the GeForce 4.
Are you going to be staying at the hospital? You mean when she wakes up? Listen, thanks for coming in. I know the last thing you want to be doing at a time like this is answering questions.
Clear.
We couldn't assume it was a coincidence. Thanks for your understanding. Let me know if there's anything we can do. Are you going to be staying at the hospital? You mean when she wakes up? Listen, thanks for coming in. I know the last thing you want to be doing at a time like this is answering questions. We couldn't assume it was a coincidence. Thanks for your understanding. Let me know if there's anything we can do.
Okay, so this was a good demonstration of the shiny texture glitch, and the other issue I had was only on the 5950 Ultra, that certain shadows in the game kind of glitching up a little bit. They work and sometimes they don't. So again, I've made a video. Now this for some reason works correctly on the FX 5500. So who knows what's going on there? I'm not sure. I tried a lot of drivers. I doubt you're gonna find another driver that fixes this, because I tried all the way from the first driver to the last driver in various intervals, and I couldn't observe any resolution here. But if you've got this card and you've got the chance to test it, please let me know and see what's going on. Anyway, I've done a video, so let's have a look at this behavior.
Intruder! We have you surrounded! Enemy troops!
Okay, so there you go. That shows the difference between the GeForce 4 and the GeForce FX in this situation. Okay, drivers. What drivers do I recommend? Usually I'll look at the launch date. This game came out in March 2003, and then roughly half a year later, that's the kind of driver you want, because usually they pick up a few glitches and they release a driver with some fixes. And the version I recommend is the 45.23. It was released in August 2003, and in the release notes you can see that they addressed some Splinter Cell issues. So that's usually a good sign. That means, yep, they picked up a few glitches, they fixed it, and that driver should be good to go for this game. And if you do play with the GeForce FX, because some of you out there might prefer the higher frame rate, despite having a few glitches here and there, if you're gonna go for the FX, I recommend the Foursquare 56.64. Released March 2004, so roughly a year after the game was launched. And in the release notes, I found an entry here talking about rendering problems in buffer shadow mode. Unfortunately, it didn't fix the issue I had on the 5950 Ultra, so not quite sure what's going on there, but again, keep that in mind. Okay, let's have a look what is next. Yep, we're gonna have a look at some other bits and pieces we need for our gaming PC. Two main choices. You can go with a Pentium 4 or an Athlon XP or Sempron. I recommend the Pentium 4 platform. Very stable. Motherboards are really easy to get. They're also very cheap. The Intel 865 chipset is super mature. I had no stability issues at all. It was a pleasure to work with. And in terms of Pentium 4, it doesn't really matter. Anything from any Pentium 4 will do the job. If you've got one with hyper-threading, I do recommend you disable that in the BIOS. It might cause some issues. What else do we need? A hard drive. I just use a SATA hard drive, 500 gigabyte. I had an ID optical drive. In terms of RAM, the game doesn't need much RAM. A gig, 2 gig, or 3 gig is all it really takes. Okay, in terms of sound, this game has support for the Sound Blaster Audio-G, and some of the follow-up sound cards like the Audio-G 2 and Audio-G 4, they're fully compatible with the Audio-G. So if you've got any of these cards, you're good to go. You can enable EAX and all that stuff, but avoid having fake Audio-G cards like the LE or the SE. These cards do support EAX through software. How accurate software version is, I don't know. But look, vintage hardware, if you're building a computer for this game, might as well do it properly and get one of those OGG cards. What do I recommend? The OGG 2ZS is pretty much the card to get through this game. And while playing around, I noticed that the GOG.com version on a Windows XP computer with a OGG card did not allow you to tick this box. So remember GOG.com and Steam, they sell games to customers who use Windows 7 or Windows 8. And starting with Vista, Microsoft removed sound hardware acceleration. So this feature doesn't work anymore. And maybe GOG.com actually patched or hacked or modified the game in a way that this feature simply cannot be turned on at all. So again, if you've got the opportunity to try this out on a Windows XP machine, let me know how you go. And also, if you've got the Steam version, let me know how you go. That was one of the reasons why I stuck to the retail version, because everything works as it should. In terms of operating system, you can either go with 98 SE or Windows XP. I recommend you go with XP. At least I would go with Service Pack 2. It fixes a lot of issues. You don't have to install many drivers. It supports USB and everything, but it's not as bloated as Service Pack 3, so it still runs well on a Pentium 4. And here a little photo. That's the setup I used for spotting differences between the two versions. This is my Pentium 4 is over here. I should have made a photo of it, but it's a test bench. And here we can see the shadow buffer mode, how the shadows appear correctly. And here I've got an AMD laptop with it's got a Radeon, it's an APU chip with onboard AMD graphics. And here you can see it runs in shadow projection mode and it's missing the shadows. And that's really it. Enough talking of me. I know it was a lot of information, but I'm always eager to make sure I get it right. And it's better to have more information than not enough. And what we're going to do now is I've got around 10 minutes of comparison videos showing you the difference between how the game looks on a vintage retro gaming PC compared to how the game looks like on a modern computer.
Sam Fisher. I can't believe you beat me here.
I like to be early. Hello, Colonel.
You can use my name. The room's safe.
Lambert.
Good to see you again. I trust NSA orientation is going well?
Well enough. Everybody's been real clear about what exactly I'm allowed to know.
It's the nature of the agency. We don't let any one person know everything, which means we've all got to work together.
Even though I'll be out there alone.
You'll be transmitting to us in more ways than you can imagine. And we'll be online through your earpiece and OPSAT.
And that's how we're handling training.
Yep. Sorry to make you run the course. I know you've been taking care of yourself.
I haven't been in the field in years.
Sure. But tradecraft is something you don't forget. It's like riding a bike.
Or wearing high heels.
Be careful, Fisher. Everything we say is being monitored. You know how nervous the brass is about exercising the fifth freedom.
I'll be good.
Be better than good. Third Echelon is a brand new initiative. The role aggressive intelligence operations will play in NSA's future will depend largely on your performance. I'll see you on the far side of the course.